Welcome to the Awaken Heart Podcast. I'm your host, Nancy Walters. Get ready to create magic and miracles as you lean into your heart's desires. I believe not only does the heart want what it wants, but it knows. This show is a weekly deep dive into what it means to live from an awakened heart. I'll be sharing inspiring stories and real conversations with people just like you, who have turned the ordinary into the extraordinary. My mission is to show you how you too can be connected and heart-centered in every area of your life. Your journey to aligning with more love, more joy, and your wildest dreams come true starts now. Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Awaken Heart Podcast. I'm your host, Nancy Walters, and it's so good to be back in the Awaken Heart community. I had a lot of things going on this month. One is I launched another podcast for my holistic relocation. It's a Get Ready, Set, Move podcast. So I've been working on getting a few episodes up and running in there. And we created a bunch of ebooks, and we have our relocation mastery course that is all set to go. And I will link those in the show notes if you are ever interested in checking it out. If you're thinking of moving, maybe out of your state, maybe it's not aligning with you anymore, and you're not quite sure where to even begin. You know, you might be getting some little nudges as far as moving, but you're not quite sure how to become clear on where it is actually that you want to go. Well, we help you go from point A, from the very nudgings, the beginnings of having an idea, all the way to getting you into your new town and settling in. So at some point, I'll share more about that. And I've also been immersed in moving my podcast over to the Anchor for Spotify platform. And that is something else, man. Getting everything to integrate, man, I was pulling my hair out. But I'm really excited about what this podcast platform has to offer as far as visibility, the reach, and I'm really enjoying it so far. Along with those exciting new additions to the Awakened Heart, there's also something that broke my heart. My beloved cat Taz crossed over to the Rainbow Bridge just about 2 weeks ago. And I have been grieving so hard over it. It's so hard to lose a pet. I mean, I always knew there would be a day that this would come, but you don't realize how fast it happens. Like, it happened fast with her. I mean, she was almost 20 years old. She had a wonderful life, but I mean, her presence is incredibly missed. So if you've ever owned a pet, you'd understand. I mean, we have humans that we lose in our life. Like, I've lost my father. I've recently lost a best friend. I'm actually going out to California next week for a celebration of life. Like, she's the first friend in our close group of girlfriends that has left. And I'm sure I'm going to really feel that when I go out to really honor what a beautiful life she had. And her presence still remains within each and every one of us. She's just such a wonderful girl, a wonderful friend for years. Like, these girls I've known for over 20 years. She was one of my favorites. But losing a pet, I've never had children myself, but I can imagine how hard it must be to lose a child, because that's how I felt about my little Taz. She's my baby girl. And I just allowed myself to feel those feelings. I was a zombie for a couple days. It's funny, once I got her ashes back, like, this is crazy, woman, but it helped me. I slept with her ashes. I slept with her favorite ball that first night I got it home. And it's oddly comforting to see her little ebony, I think it's a mahogany box with her ashes. And I have some clippings of her fur and her favorite toy on my dresser. So I still greet her and say how much I love her every single day. But this is the first time in 26 years I have not had a pet. And I'm going to try to stay that way for the next couple months, because spring is coming out here. And if I do get an animal, I will want to stay home with it. And I've pretty much stayed home in the last 10 years. And I need to become more social and really expand my social network here in Michigan. I've been here almost a year, and I really want to get out and explore more of my neighborhood, my city, which I love, Rochester, Michigan, and have some really great experiences and some close friends. And maybe, since the universe loves a vacuum, which my heart, there's a void there. I mean, I'm a whole, complete person, but there's a void, and I'd love to use that love that I have so much for a pet to really channel that into really aligning with the partner, like the romantic relationship, my life partner, my warrior, my God man right now. Like I'd really like to align with them. So I'm going to try to keep an open space for the next 6 months. But you know what? I've never gone to find a pet. They always find me. So I'm going to surrender that right now and see what happens. So that's a little catch up of what's been happening with me. And I finally feel better to get back into the podcast. I really like to put these out like at least every other week. And I've got a couple episodes that are ready to be edited and go. And it's just myself that's doing everything. And I just really didn't have the energy to do anything. So this episode I'm so excited. I'm so glad I'm finally going to get this out. I just edited it. I really love this conversation. You're going to get a lot out of it. So today's guest, we have Shannon Talbot. Shannon is a transformational coach, best-selling author of Breaking Free, and a leading voice in empowering professionals and women to reclaim their confidence, energy, and joy. With a background in corporate leadership and firsthand experience with burnout, Shannon's journey has fueled her passions for guiding others towards holistic well-being and success. Through her coaching practice, Shannon has impacted countless professionals, helping them break free from feeling stuck and maximize their potential in all areas of life. Her work has been recognized in esteemed publications and media outlets, including CBC Radio, Today's Parent, and Chatelaine. Join us as Shannon shares her insights, stories, and transformative coaching techniques on the Awaken Heart podcast. Get ready to elevate your life, boost your energy, and embrace a journey of empowerment and fulfillment. Hi, Shannon. Welcome to the Awaken Heart podcast.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming and being our guest here and helping to awaken women. And we have gone few episodes around this topic, but there's always a new take on it with people like yourself who have experienced a lot of corporate burnout, maybe going into one direction in their life and finding that they're really unfulfilled in what they're doing. What they thought they should be doing really wasn't lighting them up and feeling like there's something missing. And I know there's a lot of women out there, you're in Canada, in the Western world, in America especially, where they're in these jobs that their soul is just it's not lighting them up. Their soul's not resonating with them. They're feeling something's missing. They're stressed out, burnt out, so much anxiety, raising kids, having a family. There's so much pressure for us as women in this modern day society that a lot of the other countries, some of them don't experience it. They look at us at the West and are like, what the hell are they doing? We're drinking wine at lunchtime. We have our siesta. We take, we have more culture and more family. It's a lot slower, but we are here in the Western world, and even like the European countries, like the bigger cities, are experiencing this as well. And so what we're doing now is we're leading women to really follow the call of their heart, because when they follow the call of the heart, there's a gift within themselves that needs to be shared with the world to help light up and inspire other women to do the same. Because, oh my God, how will our world change when we bring all these gifts out into the world? And you just wrote a book, Breaking Free, that just came out in January. So congratulations on that. It's available on Amazon and it's available on Ingrid Sparks so that other bookstores can get it. I like going to the independent bookstores myself. And I was just diving into the book. I love it. I can't wait to read the whole thing. I'm going to sit down and like really dive into it because I experience a lot of what you're talking about myself. And I'm sure a lot of women can relate to it. So for my audience who doesn't know that much about you and your background, I know that you had a career in financial services and, you went to university. I read the story about how, you had applied for the wrong program, but then you spoke up and you got into the right program and you spent 15 years in that program without telling your whole story. And then you went into advertising, and then your son's sickness led you into really questioning that totally changed the trajectory of your life. So I just gave little brief, points, but you could explain it much better than I can. So if you can kind of go into your background and your earlier career and the event that led you into where you are now, or at least the trajectory to get you started.
Sure. So I started out in banking. It was just something that I kind of fell into. I started working as a teller in a bank part-time during university to make money, and then ended up into banking, and it was really great. I actually had a really great start to my career where I was one of the few Spanish speakers on the team, and the division I worked in looked after Latin America. And so I got to fly all around and I
Mm-hmm.
got to work on really cool projects, and I moved up the corporate ladder pretty quickly, and it was really exciting. It was also very entrepreneurial, which I didn't recognize at the time, but I did later on. But then things started to change as, I got married, and then I assumed a new role of wife. Then I started managing people in the corporate world. So I assumed this new, role as manager. And then later when I was a mom, I assumed this role of mom. And with each role came expectations that I put on myself and influenced by society too, where, oh, I should act a certain way or I should be this way and do this thing. And so the pressure started to build. And one thing I never learned as a child, as a teenager, in university ever, was how to manage my stress and anxiety. And the more I put pressure on myself and everything, um, just the yuckier I felt. I couldn't handle it. And so I would press what I call the easy button. And I would just move jobs or move companies and think, okay, this is going to fix it. And meanwhile, two things were happening. So one was I didn't recognize how stressed I was until later and started connecting the dots. And two was I didn't grow up saying, I'm going to work in banking. Like, whoa, that's so exciting. And, not to if any bankers are listening, it's a fabulous career and I learned a ton, but it just wasn't what lit me up. Fast forward to, as you were mentioning, my son, who was 5 at the time, spent 31 days in hospital for what I like to call his appendix gone rogue. So what should have been something simple in and out ended up being 31 days in hospital. And during that time, my husband and I took turns staying overnight each night. And it was the first time in my life where my career really took a back seat. And I found myself asking myself 3 questions. Am I happy? Am I healthy? Do I feel fulfilled? And my answers were not really. And that made me really sad because I was like, well, I'm still really young. I have, so many more years ahead of me of work. I have these 2 beautiful kids I'm raising. If I'm not happy, healthy, or fulfilled, like what the heck am I doing? And like I don't want to go through life just settling. And so it was in that moment that I finally was like, okay, Shannon, like, no. It's time to get a heck yes to these 3 questions. And so I gave myself permission to go on a path to greater happiness, health, and fulfillment.
Mm. And what was that path? You knew that you needed to make this change. You weren't happy. I know that you read Michelle Obama's book and that inspired you. It's always good. Like just like women are going to pick up your book in a situation like, oh, I'm not that happy. And then you're going to give them the blueprint in order to either start working with you or to at least that nudge for them to start making changes. So you read that, inspired you, but you also have the courage to make the change. Like you knew that feeling in your gut and that feeling that I'm not happy, I can't continue this anymore. Can you imagine that, until you're 65, you're doing a job that is so unfulfilling? And I was reading, this was like blowed my mind. I think when you were in advertising, how they made you do 87 revisions of a presentation, like, and it took you, you were working late nights and it's taking you away from your kids. 87, 87,
Yeah, in
87.
banking. That was still in banking. Yes.
It was still in
yes.
banking. Holy
Yes.
Mary,
Yeah.
Mother of God.
Yeah. Yeah. It was, that was the thing, right? It was, if I saw, it's going to sound horrible, but for that project in particular, I didn't see the purpose in it. And I'm like, why am I killing myself working these long hours to make a presentation look prettier or change one word or do these things? So it started to really feel, I didn't, there was no sense of purpose behind it. Like I'm not helping people with this presentation. I'm not feeling fulfilled with this. If anything, my resentment was just growing. But interesting story on reading Michelle Obama's book, Becoming. My friend told me to get it when I was in the hospital. She knows I love reading. And she and I had met at a fertility clinic a few years prior when we were both trying to get pregnant. And she said, oh my gosh, Michelle Obama talks about her struggles with fertility. And I think you'll really relate to it. I mean, well, we never did get pregnant. We went on to adopt, but it was interesting that Michelle talked about it. So the reason I picked up her book was to read that. And what came out
Mm,
of it was Michelle shared that she was this corporate lawyer making really good money. It's what she went to school for, but it didn't light her up. And then she shared her path to finding out what would light her up and
mhm,
switched into the healthcare industry where it wasn't, it didn't pay as much. Her mom thought she was ridiculous for doing it, but she followed her heart.
mm,
And that was the first time where I let myself say, oh, I
mm,
don't have to stay in banking. I can change what I want to do. And I actually followed the blueprint Michelle made where I finally admitted to people, I'm not happy. I don't want to work in
mm,
banking anymore. I want to change. And for so long, I'd been scared to even admit that to people in my network, like my friends and family knew, but my network, because I was like, oh, if it gets back to my boss, I'll get fired. Right. I immediately went to worst case scenario.
mhm,
But I finally just started, reaching out to people saying, hey, I'm looking for a change. I have no idea what it is, but, I'd love to grab a coffee. And every person I met was so wonderful, introduced me to somebody else. And I got to start to make this list of what I was looking for. And so that was one part of my path. The other part of my path was I worked with a coach for my first time in my life. I'd never worked with a coach. I worked with an executive coach. I went to this 3-day beautiful retreat on a horse farm outside of Toronto, Canada. And I came out with this goal that I did not see coming. And my goal was in 10 years, I am a successful entrepreneur who helps women live happier, healthier, and more fulfilling lives. I
mhm,
wasn't even there yet, right? I was just starting my journey, but I knew that that's what I wanted to do.
mhm. You had
But
that
I put it,
mission
yeah,
statement. You had that clear and
yes,
concise intention that
correct.
you could feel and you could see. Like that's so important.
Yeah. And the thing is, which I tell everyone is forget the how, right? The
Mhm,
how will come. I wasn't even there yet myself, but I let myself go there. Like that was my dream. And that's why I gave myself 10 years too, because I was like, okay, it's enough time to figure it out. So in the meantime, I'm like, I need to change industries. I need to move into something that does, it's something different. Try something, see if I like it. And so I made this list of bullet points. And in the end, it was hilarious. I was on the phone with a recruiter and I'm telling him the bullet points, but I didn't know what the title was or industry. I just knew what the job description kind of was. And he said, I have the perfect job for you. I said, okay. And he goes, it's in advertising. I went, no, I'm going to work in advertising. I'm like, no, they have long hours. And I've been like on the client side for years. Anyway, it checked my bullets and my bulleted points. And I went and I interviewed and I fell in love with the people and I fell in love with the culture. And it was a really wonderful job and had everything I was looking for. So I did. I moved into that role and did it. And then yes, the one downside were the hours. And I still wasn't great at managing my stress, although in that job I got much better. And it was the first time in a long time where I showed up more authentically too. It's like, you know what? I'm going to be myself there.
mhm,
It's a creative
mhm,
um, team, and I just felt everyone was showing up as themselves and dressed how they wanted to dress. And so for the first time, I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to be me, and it just was so great to see that and see, oh, it took less energy, and it was such a great fit and so fun. But then my last stop was, then COVID hits. My hours went through the roof. They got even worse. And I was like, something has to change and I can't quit my job because I need money. So I went back to school and became a coach. And then I started coaching on the side to see if I liked it. And I was like, whoa, I finally think I found what lights me up. And so I, made a plan to leave my job in about 6 months from then. And I did. I left the corporate world in 2021. And
mhm,
now I do a lot of speaking engagements for organizations around burnout and stress and finding happiness at work. And then I do coaching as well. So performance coaching for
mhm.
primarily people in corporate, but from all walks of life as well.
What a perfect segue. And you had a lot of context because you were in the business world for so long. So you got a lot of ideas and keynote speaker, that is wonderful. that you get to do that. And yeah, it's just you took all the steps that you needed to get into that advertising job. And it seems like much more aligned because the financial industry, it's such a different, it's, numbers, it's like, suits. And I don't know where you were, just financial planning, or were you working in like, you were in Toronto where you working on?
Yeah, I was more on the product side, so
Okay.
product management,
Okay.
strategy, marketing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
A little bit more fun, but yes.
Okay, good. And now you get to go up and speak in front of all these people and coaching people. Do you specialize in, do you gear more towards helping women when you're doing the coaching, or do you do, I'm sure you do both men and women, but it's mostly geared towards women up leveling their
Correct. Yeah, I do both. But yeah, lots of women, a lot of figured out a lot of people in transitions are who I work with. So whether they're
life?
coming back from a maternity leave or
Mhm,
coming back from any leave of absence or starting a new job, starting in a new company, recently promoted. It's kind of anyone who's recently had a transition,
mhm,
and they want that help with two main things. I would say it's the balance. So how do I, set the boundaries and how do I set myself up for success while not burning out? And then the balance as well. Especially I do work with a lot of moms as well
mhm,
who are, looking to be successful, but not at the expense of their family or their well-being.
mhm. Yeah, because raising your kids for the next generation, I feel, is the most important job any woman could ever have. And we lost a
Mhm.
lot of that. I mean, women did gain huge strides in the work environment, but they also lost a part of themselves by being taken away from raising their children. And what's great about our virtual world right now is a lot of women can be at home and still raise their kids and be there for the games. And it's that balance. Can you speak into the women, the struggles of a working mom and how you help them gain more balance in their life?
Yeah, definitely. I think the biggest thing I call it the three P's. I find there are three habits that impact men as well, but I find them more present with women, and they are people pleasing, striving for perfection, and perception. So caring
Mm,
too much about what other people think.
being
And like,
likable.
and these
Yeah.
these are all important habits to a degree, right? We don't want to be jerks. We don't want to piss people off. So they're good habits to have, but when they tip that point where they become too much a part of our lives, they hold us back from our own dreams, from our own passions, from our own time, right? Like moms are time-starved, women are
Hmm.
time-starved already. So if we can let go of striving for perfection, Sheryl Sandberg says, done is better than perfect, right? If we're always striving for, there's no such thing. Perfect doesn't exist. So
Hmm.
if we can let go of that, if we can start caring less about what others think, and this is a big one in the workplace, right? Especially I see if a mom wants to leave at 4 to go pick up her kid or go have dinner with her kid, or, it's the guilt that's like, oh no, guilt with the perception. It's like, what are they going to think? Are they going to think that I'm not, a good enough professional? Am I not going to get a promotion because I want to have dinner with my kids? And it's like, it's almost, we go to this black or white. If I do this, I'll get fired. Or if I do this, there won't give me that promotion or bonus or whatever that is. And it's like, no, you can do both. You can set those boundaries, you can set your priorities, and you can care less about what other people think. And you can still be uber successful. One of my clients actually just wrote me last week. So she just went back. She's in a male dominated field where she's the only one of her age group. So the men are either a lot older or a lot younger. And most of the men had nannies or their wives stayed at home. So they
Hmm.
don't get the struggles she
Hmm.
faces. And she set those boundaries. So we worked together and she set those boundaries, and we had her caring less what other people thought. We had her building up her confidence so she could care less about what other people thought. And she just got her biggest bonus she'd ever gotten.
Mm,
And it's funny because in her mind originally was like, oh no, I can't do this or I won't be recognized. And it's like, no, you can, because you can have more energy and you can have more joy then in your life to do more of what you want, which really at the end of the day makes us more productive and
mhm,
focused
mhm,
in whatever we want to do.
mhm. Because her whole energy is changing because she's able to spend time with her kids and she's
Exactly.
able to have more time for herself, and then you can put more into the work because you're fulfilled, and you're just much more fulfilled. You become much more productive. And you had said something in your book about detach who you are from the behavior. So many of us don't want to be unlikable. We want to be liked.
Yes.
And we compare ourselves to others, and we compare ourselves to ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
Can you explain that, how we compare ourselves to ourselves and how it can
Yes.
sabotage us?
Yes. So this is something, it's so interesting. I feel like, at certain points in my coaching practice, I'll have very like-minded people together. And there was a period I went through when I was writing the book where I noticed that my female, actually, and my male, I shouldn't say that, both my female and male clients were comparing themselves to younger versions,
Mm.
right? So, okay. So when we're in our early 20s, mid 20s, you know, not, well, some people might have kids, but let's just say you're in your early 20s, you don't have kids yet. Your life is, your work, but then also social life, that kind of thing. You might be the most fit you've ever been because you have more free time. Don't have money that you have to spend on kids or potentially a mortgage, things like that. So in a way, you're a bit more free, but that changes over time, right? So you get married, you have the house or the dog or the kids or whatever it is that then, is tying you down a bit. But we tend to go back to, oh, but in my 20s, like, oh, I could run a 5K run and so quickly, and oh, I've gained weight, or oh, my kids have me up in the night. I don't sleep as well as I did in my 20s, and I don't look as great as I did in my 20s. I don't go out with my friends as much as I did in my 20s. And it's like, yes, that's right. But what do you have in your life now that you didn't have in your 20s? Right? Like it's that kind of thing that we need to focus more on the present moment
Mm.
versus what we had, because obviously you are in this life for a reason. There are things you chose in your life for a reason. And, I wouldn't trade being a mom for anything. And that is just so beautiful. And it was a struggle to get here. It took us 4 years, like infertility, thousands of dollars. We had to adopt our children. And I wouldn't change the journey for a moment. But there's a reason I went through all of that, right? It's because I wanted this life that I'm in. And the more we can let go of, okay, I used to be skinnier, I used to have more energy, all of those things. I used to have more free money, cash on the side that I could spend more. It's like, yes, but what do you have now? What
Mhm.
brings you joy now? What brings energy into your life now? And what do you love about it?
Mhm. Mm. So it's having grace, and it's having grace and being here in the present moment and appreciating and having gratitude for what you have now instead of what you don't have. I
Yes.
mean, we change so much throughout our whole lives, so much. and and being appreciative of what you had before to where you are now. So yeah, we can't go back to that. We have to go back, where we are. It's just, it's futile and it's useless. So yeah.
Like that thing, they say you'll never be as young as you are right now again, right?
Right,
And
right.
it's remembering that too, right? So even, in 10 years, we're going to be like, oh, when I was in my 30s or when I was in my
Exactly.
40s or whatever, right? It's never ending.
Right. And it goes so fast. It goes so fast. I mean, we all end up ruminating about where we were before. But my God, I spend half my time like I'm at home. In the evenings, my sister's like, well, what are you doing this Friday night? You're single. I'm like, I don't know, going home and feeding my cat and watching TV. It all changes. So I know that going from the corporate world and then creating on leaning into a business that fulfills or going into entrepreneurship, like stepping out of the one role and going into another. What are there's such an importance of a morning routine. So, and I know exercise, I think you had said, and I know it's very important because I've used this myself, exercise and meditation to create a really strong morning routine. What is your morning routine, and how can somebody use these practices to really set up their whole day?
Sure. Yeah. So I'll just share too that I am one of those people that for years and years made New Year's resolutions that never went anywhere. And it was like every year, exercise 3 times a week. Wouldn't happen. I was one of those people who would get a gym membership in January and not go. I'd go twice.
Mm-hmm.
So I just want to set the stage. I'm never somebody who looked after myself. I never, I almost did binge exercising, right? I'd get caught up in a fad. I'd do it for a little bit and then that was it.
Can you real quick go into the
Yeah.
stats? Because I read some of your stats about like how 1.3 billion, all these resolutions.
I don't have, I know
1.3, I think it was 1. Yeah.
88% of New Year's resolutions fail by March.
Mm.
So, we're in just a week or two, they're going to be done. Most people. And yeah, I forget the number offhand, but
1.3 billion or something memberships.
Unused gym membership.
Yeah. 50% of adults don't finish one book a year. That's astounding to me. And I know that 90% of online courses don't, complete.
Yeah, they don't finish an online course.
Yeah, we all make these
it's really
amazing.
like the stats are mind blowing, but at the same time, not surprising, right? Because think in your life, right? All of us, like in our past, we have good intentions. And this is something I speak about regularly to the groups I speak to. We technically know what to do. It's not the knowing. That's the hard part. It's the doing, right? We can Google anything we want. It's the actually putting stuff into motion. And in my case, I started a morning routine because I was just so done with the excuses that I was using that I didn't have time and I didn't have energy. And it was like, well, the only person that can control that is me. So I read Robin Sharma's The 5 a.m. Club book. And
oh my God, do you get up at 5 a.m.?
So I
God bless
used to.
you.
Now
Jesus.
I don't as much. But at the time, so I always tell people, it doesn't mean you have to get up at 5 a.m.
I love sleep.
But a morning routine is seriously, and this sounds so, cliche or whatever, but it did change my life. It is the only thing that finally got me to start exercising regularly. I meditate regularly. I journal regularly. So remember that mission statement we talked about earlier that I wrote, I wrote that out every day. Every single day, except weekends, I give myself grace. But every single day I wrote out that mission statement. My dream came true 8 years early. Right?
Wow.
I put it out for 10 years. It came true in 2.
Wow.
And I also read. So I love reading so that's my time to read. And that was a game changer for me because all of a sudden I was able to handle stress better.
Yes.
I was
absolutely.
calmer with my kids. I was more patient at work and focused. And it just changed everything for me. And so I had to switch up my routine. When I started, I did exercise first. And I'll admit, I still don't love exercise. I just love the benefits it brings me, but it's still really difficult for me to do. So I made that last after I'd had my coffee because I need my coffee in the morning.
Coffee.
And then I eat, and now I'm a bit more lax. Like the time of day can vary a little bit. I prioritize getting a good night's sleep, but it is the one thing that just finally changed in my life. And I won't go back to the person I was before. I definitely need these habits in my life weekly.
And how much time do you allow yourself? I mean, exercise could be a half an hour, an hour. It could be a walk. It could be the gym. It could be yoga, whatever. But how much time do you allow yourself? So you get up and you have your yummy coffee, because I can, one of my favorite things to do. And then you journal. So I've done the journal too. My arm always hurts from doing it, where you're writing your mission statement. I'm like, oh, I get it. And I'm mad doing it because it hurts my arm to write it out. But it does. You're writing your intention. I can see how that came faster because you're literally putting your intention out into the universe, into the field. And there's that whole, we're all energy, vibration, frequency. It's going out there and it's in you. So you're setting up again. And I know about how even meditating for like 10 minutes, it does help you handle the day much better. It helps you respond to your kids more great. You're not getting upset about so many things or yelling at somebody driving your car. And it's easy to get out of that. But once you commit yourself to that. So you journal. When you write out your statement, how many times do you do it? Can you just write it once?
So I just write it once a day. But what I do, you might not like my next part though. I have 10 statements I write out every day.
Ouch.
And there are 10 statements that, and as of right now, I'm focused on 2030 because I wrote them in 2019.
Mm-hmm.
So it's 10 things that I want in my life by 2030.
Mm-hmm.
I write them out as if they're true, as if
Mm-hmm.
they're present.
Mm-hmm.
I have statements about my kids. I have statements about my husband and I, our marriage. So all aspects of life, I write those out. And I just recently started a new practice. I don't know if you've heard about savoring. It's like gratitude, but a little bit different.
Where you're feeling
And
it.
it's like I'll write down 5 things I'm savoring right now.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And just like to feel in the moment. And it's usually something from the last 24 hours that
Mm-hmm.
I'll put. And it's just a bit different. I did 3 things I was grateful for
Mm-hmm.
ages, and now I'm just switching it up a little
Mm-hmm.
bit. And then I usually even write my 5 priorities for the year, just to remind myself to align my energy and my time and my money with those priorities. So it's 2 pages in my journal that I do. And then one thing I want to point out too about meditation, I tell people I suck at meditation. My brain is so hard to turn off. It doesn't turn off, but the benefits are still there. So
Mm-hmm.
I don't, I can't fully understand it because I'm not good at it, but I do feel calmer and more grounded
Mm-hmm.
after meditation.
Mm-hmm. Well, there's so many different types of meditation. So you can just, a lot of people might only get like 2 seconds of like no space, but you just kind of
Mhm.
observe. So your head's going all the time. You just kind of get to a place of witnessing those thoughts and letting them go. So, but you're doing it. And
Yeah.
yeah, meditation, I know I've gotten out of it. Like I can't sit still recently, but it's always like so on point with my meditation practice, and then you get off of it. And I do notice, and I'm sure you've noticed when you don't do it. But have you been consistent all these years, or if there's a 1 day or 2 days that you get off it, you just notice a difference?
Uh, yeah, I think the biggest thing because I am a high achiever and I set really high expectations for myself that what I've really started to work on is again not striving for perfection.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just the days I can meditate, I meditate. And the days I don't, I let it go. Because I think
Mm-hmm.
sometimes too, I'm like, I don't know if it's because I didn't meditate that I'm grumpy or if it's because I'm mad at myself that I didn't meditate.
Probably
So it's
that.
hard sometimes to tell the difference.
Mm-hmm.
I do know I definitely feel better when I meditate and exercise. I strive for 3 to 4 times a week.
Mm-hmm.
I don't, it's not something I'll do every day. And it could just be a 20-minute, run, or
Mm-hmm.
if it's a walk, it'd be a bit longer. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I definitely notice a difference, but I'm also trying to just have that balance too, where I'm not striving for perfection or pushing myself, and beating myself up over it.
Because we kill ourselves trying to be perfect. What is
Yeah.
perfect? It's an idea in our mind that is
Yeah.
perfect. Everyone's perfect is different. So
Yeah.
that's one thing that we put pressure on ourselves, and a practice that's supposed to make us feel happy, and putting pressure on us when we don't want to do. I mean, you have to like get yourself in the habit of doing it. But yeah, that pressure, boy, it's something else. Like there is no such thing as perfection. So
Yeah.
yeah, this has been great. Okay, so just one or two more questions before we go. I saw that you had mentioned you call it your big five, your top priorities. And I'd love for you to go into these priorities, but there's also like what needs to go along with it. So you're not chasing shiny new objects. So there's the big five priorities, what you need to do. And then just like not getting distracted, because we can easily like have these priorities and then it can change again. Instead of like making the changes, we could always be chasing something new.
Yes. Yes. And especially that's been a really hard one for me as an entrepreneur
Mm-hmm.
because I am my own boss and I get to set, my priorities and what I work on. And it's so funny because when I started my business, it was wonderful because everyone was reaching out saying, "Hey, have you thought about this? Or you should do this, or what about this?" And it was lovely. But every time a new idea was brought to me, I'd be like, "Oh, yeah, that sounds great. Okay, I'm going to do that." And I would get off, my priorities. So the big five is basically looking at your life, and you can do, in time chunks, 3 months and 6 months, a year. But it's saying, okay, in the next 3 months, what are my big five priorities? And the the hard part here is it has to be across your whole life. You can't pick 5 priorities for work and 5 for personal. It's too many. So it's looking, okay, what are my 5 things? And being specific, right? You can't just write like family, we can't be too broad because that's not going to help us. The point of picking priorities is so that anytime somebody asks you to do something or invites you somewhere or a new shiny object comes along, that you're then taking those and looking at your priorities and saying, does this align with them or not? And sometimes it means we have to reprioritize, and that's okay. They can change. But a lot of times, too, we're saying yes to things and we're agreeing and we're people pleasing and doing all those things. And then we're putting too much on our plates. So, in this, using the big five, it's causing us to focus on those five things and getting, rid of the noise, getting rid of the other things that are going to take away from our big five. And one thing I've noticed with, I would say, 80% of my clients when I have them do this exercise, which is not surprising, but kind of, is they don't make it onto their own list. So their five priorities might be, kids' activities, something at work, something with their husband, or I don't know, the garden, their house, keeping their house like tidy. And then I'll be like, okay, and where are you on your list? And every time they're like, oh, I'm not. And that is the other big thing for us, right? Is we need to be somehow as one of those five priorities, or we will never make time for ourselves, or we will never chase our dreams if we're not on our list.
And it should actually be the top of the list. You've got to prioritize yourself first to be able to show up for your family and show up for your job and, your health and your well-being and all that. So you're saying there's the five priorities, and then you look at each of those categories. So if somebody's asking, so for yourself as a priority, if somebody's asking you to do something that doesn't align with your own values, you just stick to your priorities. Or if something that's coming at you for family and it's not in your top five, you just stick to your top five. Is that how that works?
That's right. Or or it's a matter of saying, oh, actually, you know what? Maybe that new thing needs to be on my list of priorities, and I'm going to get rid of number 3.
Okay.
So sometimes it can mean like swapping them out. It changes. But really, it's just, especially those people pleasers, right? Anytime, somebody comes along and they're like, oh, can you help with this volunteer event this weekend? And meanwhile, you're swamped, right? You have all these things on your plate, but because you don't want to disappoint anybody or let them down or, have caused them stress, and you're like, okay, I'll do it. And then you're, working double in other areas or just having too much on your plate, all for not wanting to disappoint somebody else. And it's the more we can look at, okay, how can I not disappoint myself first? How can I love myself first? Then your bucket will be full to then help other people more.
And it comes down to as well, like the shoulds. There's so many shoulds instead of doing, what do I want? What do I need? And going back to being likable. I want to be likable. I don't want them to get mad at me. I don't want to say this because they might get mad. And so many times we don't ask for what we want because we're already projecting how they're going to react. We go into this whole scenario and it sabotages us. If you hadn't done that, you would have ended up in the wrong program for a couple of years. Like you spoke up at the very beginning. And I'm sure throughout your whole career, you've learned to speak up as well. And now you're here doing something that lights you up and fulfills you on every level. And I think that's so inspiring. And you're going to inspire so many other people to do the same. Women, like the new level of women that are being birthed, I think is just so fantastic and amazing. And we're going to see the world change because of this. And okay, so you just had a book that came out, Breaking Free, and it's available. Do you have any programs? What's lighting you up right now? I know this book, and you're going on the circuit talking about it, and hearing how it has helped people change their life is going to be so amazing. Like, you birthed your gift, and then it's going to help so many other women. So what is lighting you up right now? What projects or spending more time with your kids or what?
Yeah. So a lot of things are lighting me up. Life's really, really good right now, which is awesome. Not to say there's not, there's ups and downs, obviously.
Yeah.
But no, life's really good. So professionally, what's lighting me up right now is I'm doing a lot of different speaking engagements right now for groups of all sizes, different organizations on burnout, on well-being at work, on chasing happy. So that's, I'm starting to move into more helping people chase their happy is the area I'm moving into more. And also I have 2 coaching programs I offer. So I do group coaching to help people find confidence and clarity in their career. And I offer that a few times a year. And then I have one-on-one coaching as well that I do for a select group of special clients that I will do one-on-one coaching for. And then, there's the book. And I'm actually going to start writing my next book. I'm going to start in April. Actually, I have a fun project I've decided to launch to start writing that. And then really the one part I am trying to, leading up to a book launch is busy and very time consuming and things like that. So I'm also really starting to embrace downtime right now and spending that time with family and friends and in the outdoors, which I love. And just trying to get over, my old definition of success where I always had to be busy and productive. So trying to let go of that a little bit more.
Because you're in control now. You're not having someone telling you, oh no, you can't take that time. Oh, stay till this late. Like you get to balance everything. How old are your kids?
Pretend you're busy working at your desk, right? Till 5 o'clock.
Oh Lord, help me.
Close the Chrome windows as people are walking by, right?
Oh
Quick, close the internet browser. I know.
Oh my God. Yeah. I can't. And then these computers, like, I feel like my eyes are going to bug out sometimes when I'm working. Like it's sunny out today and it's probably only like 34, but mama's quitting early enough to get out there and enjoy it and get to the gym and go to the sauna. So, I mean, I've always been self-employed and I've always pushed against, like, when I heard the 87 versions, I'm one that'll be like, I don't keep jobs because like it's just how I've always been since my first job. Someone let me do my job. Don't micromanage. Don't breathe down my neck. But kudos to you for even to be able to stay in a job where someone's making you do 87 revisions. I would have been fired because I would have been just the way I am.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. So, okay. So how can people that want to work with you, women, men, or want to hear you speak, how can they get a hold of you? What's the best way?
Sure. Best way would be go to my website, www.shannontalbot.com. I'm also quite active on LinkedIn. If anyone wants to connect with me on LinkedIn, Shannon Talbot, Instagram as well, although not quite as much as LinkedIn, but on Instagram, I'm at Shannon Talbot _coaching. And you can just reach out, contact me, send me a direct message or I have a way to set up a quick 15-minute chat as well. And love to connect.
15-minute chat. Lovely. Wonderful. And is there anything else that you would love my audience to know that we didn't cover before we go?
I'd love to remind everyone that you're never too old to chase your dreams, to chase your happy. Even as we get older and we get more responsibilities, it doesn't mean that we can't do more of what we love. And so I would just encourage everybody to, as the subtitle of my book is Stop Holding Back, Start Being You. Bring your full authentic self to your life, to your work, and you will shine.
And find your happy and align with your happy, because if you're chasing something, you're always going to be chasing it. So yeah, you're helping people find that. And I think that's fantastic. And, everybody go pick up this book. You'll get your own ahas and you'll be inspired to make the changes that you need to start living an aligned life. And one more question that I always ask before we go, I would love to hear from you. It's the name of my podcast. What does it mean for you to live with an awakened heart?
Just means to follow your dreams, listen to your heart, go with it, trust it. It's leading you in the direction that you want to go. So follow it.
Yes, follow it. Awaken your heart. Well, thank you, Shannon. Thank you so much for being on the Awaken Heart podcast.
Thanks, Nancy. It was great being here.
All right. Have a great rest of your day.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you for listening to this week's episode of the Awaken Heart podcast. If you've enjoyed what you've heard today, share it with a friend. And if you haven't already, head on over to your favorite podcast app to subscribe, rate, and review. If you have any comments, questions, or feedback, you can reach me at the awakenheartpodcast.com.